Hello, friends. Joe Weaver here again. Hope you all are doing well. So, I was debating on putting this video together. It seems like when we're going through energetic upshifts, seem to get a little dazed out. And so, it's going to be, I'm sure we'll see what flows through on all of this info. So some of this information I've been getting for quite a while. I've made the comment about the natural order. I've made comments about that in past videos and articles and different things like that. And it's interesting how so much of the, say, natural, we've got a lot of different things going on in this, say, in our in this reality that we are collectively transforming. And so I guess we'll start off by talking about the artificial. And I made a post on Facebook today talking about everything that we've experienced up to this point is in a lot of different ways has been artificial reality. And people talking about going back to the normal, but really what the normal was artificial. And what we're transitioning into is actually the natural. What is natural? Our natural state of being, our natural state of the energetics, and so on. So just to give you a little background, say when we're talking about artificial, the ego in itself, when we say that, release fear, release judgment, release hate, and so on, and release, the worry, and other things. And in a lot of different ways, when you say, release these things, the ego might say, well, what else is there? What else is there other than judgment, fear, worry, hate, other things like that? The reason for that is because that's what the ego, basically, that's the ego's world. And so therefore, anything outside of that is completely unknown to the ego. And that's the reason why, when we talk about connecting in with your levels of your multidimensional self, you're basically bringing in levels of your own knowingness that exists beyond the realm of the ego. And so in this reality and so on, for a very long time, thousands of years, and in many ways we've had artificial energetic grids around the earth. We've had artificial implants to limit consciousness within physical, the physical body of humans. We've had, in this last 50 to 60 years, we've had artificial ingredients in foods. We had artificial artificial different elements going in the body that's not supposed to be in the body through vaccinations. We've, the artificial world, artificial pharmaceutical drugs, that are not naturally, say, absorbed in the body. They build, example, just pharmaceutical drugs in itself. As some of you know, they basically, they actually build up within the body. Therefore, the body is not able to naturally, say, get rid of them. And so, there's a lot of artificial things in this world. It's so artificial in so many different ways. It's almost like a bubble that you're looking out of, and you're like, everything in here looks normal to me. But really, the more that you actually start looking, and the more that you start observing, and the more you start observing yourself and really tapping in to what is, say, artificial, like the ego within your own levels of your own self, the more that you're able to start seeing what's, say, artificial in the world. So, tapping into more of your natural, say, your own natural levels of your existence is tied into, say, your multidimensional self. There's only so many words to really describe it, but the biggest thing is the more that you integrate the levels of your natural multidimensional existence that, say, beyond the ego, beyond the levels of, say, the dualistic levels of the self, you're able to see the natural order, basically start to see it more and more in more and more things. Say, the natural order of nature itself, the power and the transformational power of nature itself. And so many people, again, specifically the ego, when we talk about the transformational power of nature itself, the transformational power of nature is so simple in so many ways that the ego will say that is elementary. It can't be that simple. Therefore, that's the reason why so many artificial things are created by the ego. So, to give you an example that was coming to me to share regarding this is, the COVID, the whole coronavirus thing that we've been experiencing. And one of the most interesting things is, and I saw this research or this article that came out, it was about a month or so ago, and it really was tying into the same information I was getting, is that, when this virus came out, it was a man-made virus. It was a coronavirus, which is a natural virus that was, say, altered in a way, artificially altered in a way to be more like a biological weapon. And, we're not pointing fingers here, just it is what it is. It was artificially altered. And therefore, with something like this is artificially altered, it is what it is. So, as a lot of you might have seen, and if you're actually doing the research or looking at things open-mindedly, since the virus came out, the actual symptoms that people are experiencing have changed dramatically since, say, March of this year. The virus in itself is continually changing, it's mutating, and so on. And a lot of these changes, the reason why, say, things have changed with the virus so much over the period of months, is that every single time that the virus goes within the physical body of a person and it is expelled out of the physical body, every single time with every single person, the virus is just changed just a slight degree. So for the hundreds of thousands and millions of people that basically have, say, gone through the process of the virus going through their system and then out and into the world, say, and somebody else gets it and so on, it changes by varied degrees as it goes on and on. And that's one of the main reasons why, they talk about the virus has mutated. And if you have done research regarding viruses, a virus needs a host to basically exist. The host in itself, the physical body, changes the virus to a degree every single time that it goes in somebody's body, which is quite interesting. Now, if we actually look at nature itself, look at the earth. What does the earth do? With pollution in the water systems, the earth itself has its ways of cleansing, of cleaning itself, of maintaining itself through, such as cleaning waste, cleaning pollutants out of the air. We as humans, basically, again, living in this altered, say, artificial state of the ego, totally mistreat the earth in a lot of different ways. And therefore, with pollution, other things, just through our existence, but a lot of it is totally living in denial of what we are doing, which is a whole nother topic to get into. But the main point that I'm trying to say here is nature in itself has its own power and ability to cleanse itself. And us, even though the ego sees itself separate than nature itself, again, the ego lives in an artificial state. It lives in an altered state of consciousness that is artificial in many different ways. That's the reason why the ego sees itself separate than nature. Even though the ego will see itself separate than nature, we are one with nature. Our physical bodies are an element, and basically the elements of the physical body come straight out of nature itself. So when the example of, the virus going in someone's body, and when it comes out, it is slightly changed. The reason why it is slightly changed is because it's slightly being cleansed. It's slightly being altered from those, say, artificial changes that were made to it as a biological weapon. Basically have been slowly, even though it's only been months, it might be even, it's amazingly how fast, we are able to transform what was artificial into a natural state. The people that are now, going through the symptoms of, even though there's many different degrees of the symptoms, a lot of people, even with, elderly people with many other conditions and so on, are just going into a state of, very tired. They're not even having any, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but a lot of them, such as the people that I know, they've had just very tired, lethargic. They haven't had any chest issues like months ago people were having, even though that still exists. But the actual symptoms and everything has really changed. It's evolved. The reason why nature itself is morphing and transforming whatever is artificial into that for which is natural. Natural, that our physical bodies can naturally basically, say, clean and cleanse, and we're able to live in balance. Nature in itself is harmony and balance. Again, even if the ego does not see harmony and balance when, say, there's a storm, or there's a tornado, or there's a hurricane, or there's, a gigantic solar flare that lights up everything, it's, there is nothing out of balance with any of that. It is simply balance, the harmony and balance of nature itself, cleansing itself from what is out of balance. Us as humans, and basically this reality that we have known, as I mentioned, there is no normal. The normal state is totally out of balance. It's completely disrespectful to nature, our natural element in itself. So that's where, there's so much. Um, it's that is we are moving into our natural state of being, our natural, say, progression of, from what was restricted as far as consciousness is now moving into is totally wide open and able to move into its natural state of being. So my suggestion is, for the chaos that you see in the world, is this basically, it is naturally resetting. And I wrote this statement down. The control in this world wants order. The control in this world, this basically tied into the artificial, okay, wants order. However, the natural order represents freedom. I'll say that again. The control wants order. However, the natural order represents freedom. The freedom in a lot of different ways. Freedom is completely 100% tied into the natural order. So even though there's so much different changes going on right now, and as I mentioned in another video, everything is basically, we have a lot of things going on because everything right now is moving more into the now moment. So take a deep breath through your nose, out through your mouth, blow all that artificial junk, all that artificial programming, all that artificial stuff that we've been carrying for so long, that we have been programmed to basically see what is real, when really what we thought was real and normal is actually artificial. So that's it. Something for you to ponder and think about. And if the next time you go into meditation, really, you can make a statement to your own self, to the natural state of your own multidimensional self, and say, I release all that is not naturally aligned with my multidimensional self. Release, I transmute all artificial elements within all levels of my existence. And I say it now. Those kind of statements, you're expressing your will, your own, what you align with. And therefore, things change when you do that. So state your will. State your will to align with the natural order. I transmute all elements, all programs, all technologies, all energetic connections throughout all levels of my existence into my love, harmony, and balance now. That's it. We continue to do that over and over and over again. We are the natural cleansing elements that is changing this reality back into its natural order. I think that flowed pretty good. Cheers, my friends. I'll see you next time.